we actually have 3 prophecies that we're going to reveal, some of which are known, but perhaps not in the way you thought about. So Lee's going to start off with prophecy number 1. I will talk about prophecy number 2, and then Lee will conclude with prophecy 3.
I have to assume that not everyone understands the story of Lemuria. I have to assume that many tune in and have never even heard the principle. So I would be remiss if I did not then lay a very brief groundwork that said Lemuria was, you might call it, the school of spiritual teaching that was given to us as an isolated area that existed for thousands of years, where you might say we learned from the Pleiadians the blueprint of divinity, how things work, consciousness, everything. We have a 47 lesson course on what life was there and what was taught in their main tool called the Lemurian teaching wheel. And in this place, many of us as old souls were there and received this teaching, this beautiful teaching. When it was over, and that's one of the prophecies, the Lemurians scattered all over the planet and they reincarnated with these things in their DNA. This was the whole idea, was to have a teaching school with thousands running through it, so that when the earth really started its population increase, in our DNA, we would carry those tools of divinity, the truth, the God inside of us, how to make it work, all of that stuff. You might ask, what happened? We featured energy that settles wherever it is with free choice. Consciousness de-evolved. That was not a surprise until today when we have this shift. We'll talk about that. So we are going to speak very briefly about the 3 prophecies. There were more, but the 3 main ones given to Lemurians, and show how they started to unfold, and then what is happening now, which is, of course, one of the prophecies. These beautiful people that lived in Lemuria for these thousands of years were taught by the star mothers. Imagine being taught from those ascended beings who love us from the stars. It's even in the books that are written, some even science, like when Greg Braden has written 2 books about the subject, that we carry divinity inside. So this is well known in metaphysics, that something happened over 200,000 years ago that changed our DNA. Scientists see it because now we have 23 chromosomes instead of 24, like everything before 200,000 years. So here we are looking at the fact that you may actually have pieces of DNA that are Pleiadian. That is the premise. So we're not going to go there today because we've done that before, and going to save some things, of course, for the broadcast. Let's look at prophecy number 1. We were told that in Lemuria, they were always told that someday that island would sink. Do not confuse this scenario with Atlantis. Now, that is completely and totally a different story in a different place. And Cryan has even said there were many Atlantis. So it's very common that light workers carry that in them as the story or the feeling of Atlantis. This was not it. This is where we were taught divinity, and the island eventually would sink. Let me tell you what that means, because that mini continent, the mini continent of Lemuria, was a lot bigger back then than it is now. That's because a bubble of magma had pushed up those islands to be very high. The main mountain, the main island of Hawaii is the highest mountain in the world if you measure it from the bottom of the ocean to the top. And one time it was raised very far up. So from space, even, it was a mini continent. This has precedent, by the way. It's not just crazy metaphysical talk, because the same thing happened in Yellowstone. Their cauldron, that is now a flat valley, used to have glaciers on it and snow and was very high. That was the same effect, and that bubble of magma, which pushed it up, then receded to where you are today. Cryan says that was the same thing for Lemuria. So the talk was this, that it would eventually go down. The bubble of magma would recede. It did. And to those living on the shores of Lemuria, it seemed as though, of course, the island was sinking. Now, what really took place is it went down, and it was the once was a small continent of Mu, became the Hawaiian Islands. Only the tips of the mountains show today, and that's what we see. But to the Lemurians, they were told someday they would have a sinking island. That was their prophecy number one. Now, the reason for this is so they would become seafarers, take to the canoes and leave, and then spread what they had learned in their civilization all over the planet. Many of them went to other islands that they could find. Many of those were volcanic. Some of those had a disastrous end. Does that smack of Atlantis to any of you? So you might understand why so many of you carry the influences, I would say, of an exploding island. That's not Lemuria. That's where many of the Lemurians went, a lot of them. So we carry this residual along with us, even of a sinking island. The thing that is so interesting is that there is so much evidence now, real 3D evidence, that this actually took place. Now we know that indeed this island group is there. And if you talk to some people also in the Pacific, in the southern hemisphere, like Easter Island, for instance, it's in a direct line with Hawaii, directly south. When we went to Easter Island, you know what their lineage is, their spiritual story? They came from those who landed on Easter Island from Lemuria. When we first heard that, we really were jolted. What an amazing influence that had on them. So they believe they're from the Pleiadians as well. It comes from this, all of the teaching that we have received about something most people are really not aware of. Lemuria is significant. That prophecy then happened. The island started to sink. They took to their canoes, and they went south. And this is almost impossible because the stars are different in the southern hemisphere. You might ask, how did they know where they were going without the stars to steer with that they knew? This is also covered in our lessons because Cryan talked about actually the star mothers giving them information about how to steer with the stars in the southern hemisphere. So they were taught this. It's very interesting to see the preparation for that first prophecy. So indeed, the island sunk, the rest is history. And then years and years later, Prakeet found himself right there burying a stargate. What was this? Give him the second one.
Yeah. Well, and then just to add to what Lee shared, that prophecy from the Star Mothers, one day Lemuria, the continent of Mu, will sink. And this is what we are doing in preparation for this event. So although it might feel frightening, it was actually something scheduled and you had advanced information that it was going to happen and that you would be okay. And you were being prepared and primed and ready for that to happen. And the entire reason for that sinking island was because for thousands of years, we received core spiritual truths, instructions for life, mastery, sacred wisdom and guidance. And it's like a school. You've now got your diploma. You have graduated, and now you are on your way. Because this is where the test of consciousness for the collective humanity begins from that point on. Because you are no longer sitting at the feet from those from the stars imparting wisdom and knowledge. You are having to do it on your own. And some of the other places the Lemurians went to is Aotearoa, which is New Zealand. They also went to Shasta, Mount Shasta, where many of you have been and have experienced those Lemurian energies. They also went to the Azores, again, volcanic in nature, islands, very comfortable for a Lemurian to be there. And Cryan even said that it ended up going into the cultures of those who you call Sumerian. So the imprint of Lemuria has spread beyond the continent of Mu and filtered out into the world on time and as targeted. Prophecy number 2, as given by the Star Mothers, when they were instructing all those that experienced life in Lemuria, they were told that there would come a time way into the future that you would be asked to remember and rekindle everything that you had learnt and experienced within Lemuria. That far off distance into the future is what we now know as the shift of consciousness that aligns with the precession of the equinoxes, an event that had the midpoint in 2012. Now, because the solstice sun is 1.5 degrees wide, it takes 36 years for us to precess through the galactic alignment. And so that means this energy of this shift began in 1994 and it will finish in 2030. This is that window of time that was the future prophecy prediction number 2. And this prophecy is all about remembrance, reawakening those sacred instructions for life, the entanglement you have with your soul energy, your blueprint. So it is about reconnecting with the original template and blueprint for creation within you. Because the Star Mothers said, when you get to this point in time, this shift, this is when humanity is going to need your guidance, your wisdom, your love, and compassion to get through the changes that are happening. So let me ask you, how does it feel when you look out into the greater masses of what's going on? I would say there is a lot of fear that exists currently, and there's a lot of seeming chaos, and there's a lot of dirt that is starting to show that was always there, but now we're really objecting to it. We're looking at leadership, and the leadership we're seeing is so obvious in its old energy thinking that we can't even bring ourselves to feel connected to anyone that's in those leadership roles if they don't have integrity or compassion or the greater good as their prime directive. The old energy of survival, conquering, resources for me, it is what is going away. And that is our role in this shift, is to stay the course, to hold on to knowing a bright future is coming, and that expectation of things becoming better actually paves the road in front of you. This is where I remember Cryon saying in a channel back in 2012, the phrase was given that the Lemurian crystals within the cave of creation are starting to tingle and vibrate and awaken. And they were sending a message, Lemurians, it is time. It is time to awaken, to re-emerge and re-engage that which you hold within you. And it never really made sense to me until we get to this understanding of these prophecies from the Star Mothers about the shift being scheduled to happen right now, so that you are releasing those seeds of Lemurian truths within you, and it radiates out from your life. What does that mean? For me, for you, for each of us personally, it's not necessarily about getting up on a platform and yelling to everybody, hey, I'm a Lemurian and this is how we do things. Emulating the attributes of mastery is what it is always been about. And again, we return back to what Cryon has told us about the attributes of mastery. Mastery observes, it does not react. And then in the observation, it uses compassionate action that it puts onto the situation. Mastery would never diminish another person. Mastery broadcasts light and love and compassion. And I feel another aspect of mastery that is so important is the attribute of joy and laughter. Think about the favorite masters that you loved and what they embodied. They were happy. They were joyful. It wouldn't serve us to go and sit with a depressed master. We would probably run the other way. So being balanced, peaceful, peace, even when there's chaos and turmoil all around you, when you radiate those qualities, that is what we mean by broadcasting the Lemurian aspects of you. So these are very exciting times. This is why I am really excited about being in Maui to welcome in this new year of 2026, because we have had a very difficult year this year. The astrology has been off the charts. It's been almost tough going for a lot of us. And Cryon has really been indicating it's because this has been the biggest kind of push of the shift and the change. We've got 5 years now until we get to 2030. But really, the hard lifting, the heavy lifting has been completed within this year. Thank goodness, because I'm ready for the release. I'm ready for new beginnings that's going to be emerging next year. And receiving these transmissions from Lemuria, I can already start feeling it pulsating and moving through my body in anticipation and expectation of all of this, what I call victory over duality, that is going to be emerging in an even stronger way, a more enhanced way, where we have heightened spiritual gifts and tools and an area of renewal that's going to be occurring for each of us, and we're so ready. So that's prophecy number 2. And then we have a third prophecy that was alluded to by the star mothers about a future time yet to come, well beyond the shift that we are now in. So I'm going to let Lee talk about Lemurian prophecy number 3.
Hi. I want to just continue with number 2 for a moment, because there's so much there. We're living number 2 right now. And this is something that, just to summarize, we are looking at a better, we're coming out of the shift. We're looking at a better energy to come. What that means to me right now, we have chosen Lemuria New Year's to give that very message. The things that are happening on the planet right now that I did not expect, that I didn't know about. And we had scheduled this meeting a year ago to be right in Maui, unaware of the energy shift that is so tremendous that is going to start happening in 2026. The numerology of 2026, a 1, is the new beginning, and it's a cycle that I didn't really see coming. And here we are, a year in advance, having planned this to be on Maui, the place where we were taught about these prophecies. We are now in the shift as light workers. We are beginning now to remember the mastery that Monika has talked about so eloquently. And that's why the excitement is so great, I think, for all of us. This third prophecy, I can't talk much about it because it's a mystery. Now, Prageet, he knows. At some level, he has got the same prophecy. It's coming to him, I know. We haven't talked of this, but it has to be because of who he is and what he is doing and how he's connected. And Cryan said there'll be a time where we start connecting with something bigger than we know is there. We are human beings with a consciousness that is limited in scope to whatever it is that we can do on this planet with what is here and has been given to us. However, the energy is now shifting on this planet on purpose, by design, and on schedule. Even the ancients talked about this particular time. If you take a look at the Hopi prophecy rock, do you know what that rock is about? It's about now, right now. That is very telling. And so here we are with an energy shift that was known by the ancients to be here. So, of course, it was a prophecy from the Lemurians as well. And here we are looking at something we don't expect. What Cryan has said is expect a new kind of connection with the super consciousness. What is super consciousness? Let me be clear that the word and the meaning of consciousness has really never been able to be defined. Even the Greek philosophers could not define consciousness. Now we know a bit about why, because it's not simply the thinking process of a human being. It is the connection process of the human being to spirit. It is the mind, the body, the heart, the pineal, the connection with that which is the God inside. Some people awaken to a higher consciousness. Some people do not. It can be measured as old, fresh, mastery. It is an amazing kind of a thought, consciousness. So we are unable truly to define what that might be. And here we are with another prophecy. Get ready to connect to super consciousness. To me, this is the beginning of the opening to everything we've ever asked for to be an ascended planet. Does that give you chills? The super consciousness can only be defined as the consciousness of the Creator. We don't have that. We can get close. That veil that has been set up keeps us from going there totally. But the veil is thinning. Dimensionality is shifting. Get ready for the super consciousness. One of the things I know that is going to happen on Maui is Cryon is going to give an experience. And it's going to be, I think, maybe even cloaked in the green mist experience that I know we are going to also give. I believe more information is going to be given about what it is in this prophecy that says eventually humanity will come out of the shift and begin to work with the super consciousness. We are the forerunners, folks. We are the old souls. We are Lemurians. We carry that information, and it's starting to awake.
And I think what I love about this third prophecy, it really is a super coherence with super consciousness, with collective humanity. So many of us have experienced moments where we're in coherence with one another. You're synchronized. You are in this room and all of you are linked together, and there is a field of coherence that develops around you. So what this future prophecy is really getting at is that you are going to create a super coherence, not with everybody in the room together, but with everybody in coherence with the super consciousness. And I feel this, another way to describe this is oneness. And if we were to summarize the teachings of the Lemurian teaching wheel and what those core truths were really about, we could condense it into one word. And that word is oneness. It's something that's a difficult concept to grasp, but really that's that third prophecy in the future to come. And it's connecting in with the super consciousness. And so just in review, those three Lemurian prophecies, number one was about the sinking island. It was scheduled on time and it was taking all of what you knew out into the world. Prophecy number two was about the shift in consciousness being the signal for you to remember. It is remembrance. And prophecy three is about a future coherence with super consciousness. So that concludes our information that we were so excited to share with all of you.